They were meant to be confidential cables from American diplomats all over the world. Unvarnished opinions of nations and leaders sent back to Washington in secrecy. But in a disclosure orchestrated by the WikiLeaks website, thousands of documents are now being made public. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton today denounced the release as an attack on the international community. And the US government will now review how it handles sensitive information. Our coverage begins with the BBC's diplomatic correspondent, Bridget Kendall.
Among the latest WikiLeaks revelations tonight, a caustic American view of a British royal abroad. Prince Andrew on a trade mission 2 years ago. At a business lunch in Kyrgyzstan, he spoke cockily and, according to the local US ambassador, verged on the rude. Also newly released this evening, cables about North Korea's aggressive behavior, seen most recently last week. Senior Chinese officials apparently told the US North Korea was behaving like a spoilt child when launching attacks to get attention. A classified report from the US Embassy in Seoul also speculated what might happen if Kim Jong-il died and North Korea collapsed. According to one senior South Korean official, China had limited influence and could be persuaded to accept South Korea taking over. One of the more serious revelations that Arab leaders, including King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, repeatedly urged President Obama to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities before it could acquire a bomb. In Iran today, President Ahmadinejad questioned the credibility of the leaks, dismissing them as American psychological warfare. Tonight, the US Secretary of State, herself at the heart of some of the leaks, warned of aggressive steps to punish those who, as she put it, stole the information.
There is nothing laudable about endangering innocent people, and there is nothing brave about sabotaging the peaceful relations between nations on which our common security depends.
Some colourful tidbits in these leaks, a little more than diplomatic gossip, but some could be quite damaging. After all, over 250,000 separate documents are being made public, an insight into the daily secret traffic from over 270 US embassies and consulates, dating from 1966 to February this year, and ranging from reported secret deals to unflattering pen portraits of other leaders. The Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, for instance, is described as playing Robin to Vladimir Putin's Batman. The French President, Nicolas Sarkozy, is thin-skinned and authoritarian. And Italy's Prime Minister, Silvio Berlusconi, is dismissed as feckless, vain and ineffective as a modern European leader.
I can tell you that in my conversations, at least one of my counterparts said to me, well, don't worry about it, you should see what we say about you. So I think that this is well understood in the diplomatic community as part of the give and take.
Obama's White House may have suffered a battering, but across the globe, as governments await the next tranche of leaks, they'll all be wondering if they're next in line to be humiliated. Bridget Kendall, BBC News.
And as this diplomatic deluge continues, suspicion about who leaked the documents has fallen on one man, US Army Private Bradley Manning. The former intelligence agent remains in military custody tonight after being arrested earlier this year. Our security correspondent Gordon Carrera has more on the man some call a traitor and others call a hero.
This man, Bradley Manning, is the key suspect in the largest ever leak of classified material. A 23-year-old soldier. He's said to be in solitary confinement after being arrested earlier this year. He joined the US Army after spending some of his teenage years with family in Wales. He appears to have become disaffected and isolated while working as an intelligence analyst in Baghdad. So how did he do it? Pretending to listen to music on his computer, he apparently inserted blank CDs. In emails to a former hacker, he said, "No one suspected a thing. I listened and lip-synced to Lady Gaga's telephone while exfiltrating possibly the largest data spillage in American history." Manning is suspected to have downloaded documents on Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as the diplomatic messages. Hillary Clinton and several thousand diplomats are going to have a heart attack when they wake up one morning and find an entire repository of classified foreign policy is available to the public, he wrote. After uploading the files to WikiLeaks, they passed them on to select newspapers. One editor today defended his paper's role.
I perfectly understand the embarrassment to some diplomats and to some governments, but I think media organizations have a different role. It's not our job to prevent the embarrassment of governments, and it's not our job to keep things secret. That's the job of governments.
In the past, removing so many classified documents would have been nearly impossible because of the volume of paper. But now you can put all the files onto a CD or a memory stick like this. And what's made the problem worse is the number of people who have access to secrets. After the September the 11th attacks, American intelligence agencies were criticised for not sharing information. So they began to create ever larger databases. Up to 3 million people are believed to have access to the kind of secret information revealed today.
There is a hard core of material there that deserve to be kept confidential and classified, and I think it has been damaging that this has been released.
For all governments, and not just America, this leak may be a warning that in the computer age, it's not as easy to keep secrets as it used to be. Gordon Carrera, BBC News.
Well, for more on the content of these cables and just how damaging they might actually be, I spoke with the former Director of National Intelligence, John Negroponte. He served as US Ambassador to lots of countries, as well as the UN. Ambassador Negroponte, during your career, you must have sent hundreds of these type of diplomatic cables back to Washington. What exactly is the point of them? How valuable are these cables to a diplomat's job?
Well, I mean, diplomatic reporting is essential to the conduct of diplomacy in the first place. It's also the first source of information for a lot of the analysis that the intelligence community does of international developments. So just for those two reasons alone, I would say it plays a crucial role in the conduct of both our diplomacy and our national security.
This is obviously causing a lot of embarrassment to the US government. Does it also cause, though, a lot of damage? I mean, how central is this exposure to America's ability to conduct its foreign policy? What kind of damage will it do?
Well, it's certainly an embarrassment. And at the very least, I think it's going to cause, or is likely to cause, some short-term damage to relationships with certain countries. For example, some of the Arab Gulf states, where there are quite a few revelations, it would appear. But as far as the long-term damage is concerned, I think one will have to study these documents a bit more to make a thorough and careful damage assessment.
So you think
surely that's going to be done.
It's not just a question of calling up King Abdullah and apologizing, as Hillary Clinton did today, effectively saying that she regretted this disclosure. That's not going to just get over this problem. You think there will actually be a real impact on America's national security?
Well, as I say, you know, the line between embarrassment and damage is not necessarily that easy to draw, but when it comes down to questions of trust and building long-term and long-standing relationships with friends and allies around the world, clearly information and comments made to us in confidence are not exactly things that they want to see appear in the newspapers, whether the next day or 5 years from now. So yes, it will damage, and in the short term at the very least, our ability to conduct diplomacy.
It seems to have come about as a result of the greater sharing of intelligence that America implemented after the attacks of 9/11. Would you now suggest that there should be less sharing of intelligence, that actually we should put up walls of secrecy again?
Well, I certainly don't think we should restrict the sharing of intelligence that has to do with law enforcement or the war against terror. These are things that have to be shared with the appropriate authorities elsewhere in the government outside of the State Department. But when it comes to routine analysis or to discussions between, say, heads of state and ambassadors, I think we're going to have to, the State Department's going to have to exercise more care in exactly how it distributes this information. And surely the Department is going to undertake some kind of a review in light of this incident.
Ambassador Negroponte, thank you very much for joining us there. From Yale, I'm sure you're glad not to be at the State Department today.
Thank you.